All right, folks, good morning. How's everyone feeling? Good, amazing. So I like to start all of my sessions with a deep breath, just to ground us, to get us in this space, in the present moment. And it's an invitation only. So we're gonna take a deep inhale through our nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. All right, we're here. Welcome to How to Build an Antifragile Law Firm. So where did this come from? If you attended this morning's keynote, you'll know that adaptation is not new to this crowd. There's an immense opportunity that comes with the challenges of an unsettled legal landscape. For the last few years, law firms have been dealing with a lot of different decisions and trade-offs, and as we emerge from the years of the pandemic, there are more complexities and uncharted waters, and we've also been seeing years of double-digit growth, and we've also seen some falling GDP. We're seeing wars happen. We're seeing this recession that may or may not come. So how do law firms deal with uncertainty about their short-term outlook and their long-term viability? What will the impact of a recession be? Will it call into question the established models of delivering legal services and set new trends? How will we overcome the next challenge and the one after that and the one after that? So when stressors compound, it's easy to focus on the decisions that are right in front of you, operating with that short-term mindset and optimizing just for tomorrow. At the root of it, there will always be some new challenge, stressor, or hurdle to overcome. And inevitably, some firms will thrive and grow stronger while others fail. In his book, Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder, Nicholas Nassim Taleb describes those that thrive under stressors as anti-fragile, or being in a category of things that not only gain from chaos, but needed to survive and flourish. In this ever-changing legal environment, it is critical for firms to become anti-fragile. The anti-fragile law firm is one that is protected from prediction errors, market volatility, adverse events. So in short, if your firm is well-positioned to embrace change, it will not only survive, but thrive in times of uncertainty. My name is Nefra McDonald. Hello again. I'm the Senior Manager of Strategic Engagement at Clio, and I'm passionate about legal technology. I'm a self-proclaimed process junkie, and I've had the privilege of having a front row seat to how some of the best law firms in the country are using technology and the right mindset to meet the challenges of this ever-changing legal marketplace and innovate beyond their wildest dreams to meet the needs of legal consumers. I love that I get to be a part of an ecosystem where we're one small conversation away from changing hearts and minds to show them a better way to practice law and live better lives. And I'm committed to influencing lawyers to be more well, because I know that there's an enormous positive impact for lawyers and the work that they do, and it has a trickle-down effect to the clients that you serve and to society at large. So here's what I'm going to cover today. I'll share a bit of background on the current legal landscape, shaped by statistics from the Clio Legal Trends Report, and that'll help me to illustrate the opportunity that exists for everyone here in this room. I'll give you a bit of the definition of the anti-fragile law firm and give you a bit of the how-to. And at the end, we're going to have some time for discussion so that we can start to think about how to be more anti-fragile lawyers and approach challenges through an anti-fragile lens. How many of you have read any edition of the Legal Trends Report? Okay, quite a few of you. The Legal Trends Report has become the benchmark report since it was first published 7 years ago. It's read by tens of thousands of legal professionals. It's cited in academic papers. It's influenced a number of startups that you might see in the exhibit hall right downstairs. And it's something that we love to publish because there are so many opportunities that are illustrated in these pages that influence not only the startups, but influences law firms and their behavior and their appetite for innovation and change as well. So today, the average lawyer has a heavier caseload and earns more for their firm than previous years. On average, legal professionals are working 25% more cases compared to 2016 and putting in 35% more billable hours. So that's a huge jump in your caseload in just a few years. When we think about anti-fragility, we're going to explore how that relates to creating sustainability over the long term. How will you sustain this growth rate in 10, 15, 20 years from now? You're going to need a strategy. And everything today is in the context of AI. Everything. In this year's Legal Trends report, we explore lawyers' insights around AI and how lawyers are thinking about major shifts in their technological capabilities. How does the anti-fragile firm emerge more equipped to handle these changes and get better as a result? Those are the connections that I want to make here with you today. So one key observation that's still really relevant from the 2022 Legal Trends report is that legal's been booming since the onset of the pandemic. Here we can see that after declines since the first waves of COVID-19, matter creation rates, that dark gray line that you see there, it's up 20% relative to the 2019 baseline, which is the average matter creation in Q4 2019. That was the pre-pandemic norm. And that green line that you see is billable hours, which saw 35% improvement, which is also impressive. And we've seen that utilization and collections rates have increased over this time period, driving billed hours up by 36% and collected revenue up 45%. And that's some really incredible data. And what it reinforces is that you are championing new ways of operating and you're working efficiently in the face of adversity and change. But while the industry has persevered through the pandemic and lockdowns, it's clear that it's going to be some time before we're in smoother waters, right? All we need to do is look at the headlines we see every day about AI coming for our jobs, about global conflict, climate change, government shutdowns, and a recession that's either arriving or is threatening to do so. Volatility is the new normal. But one thing I'd encourage you to do in times like these, or at any time where you're faced with a difficult moment, is to reframe it. I have a colleague that instead of succumbing to the overwhelm of a new challenge, she says, "What a beautiful opportunity." In every downturn, there are firms and companies that find a way to thrive, firms that actually emerge stronger from the downturns when they're in them. And it turns out recessions can be a huge opportunity for innovation in the midst of disruption. Here is the cover of The Economist when Clio was founded in 2008, and the headlines were not dissimilar to the ones we're seeing today. It turns out it was a great time to innovate. It was the perfect time to disrupt large, entrenched competitors who were operating from a place of fear and started acting really conservatively. The great financial crisis was a really good time for law firms to start questioning on-premise software and start thinking about the cloud. So since that time, Clio has grown by addressing the challenges facing the legal industry and enabled hundreds of thousands of law firms to weather those challenges by being tech-forward and client-centered. The opportunity to become stronger in difficult conditions also exists for law firms. We see this in the Legal Trends report where we analyzed factors that separated growing firms from shrinking firms. And what we saw is that some firms struggled. Their revenues decreased, their headcount shrunk, and some of them even shut down. And then there was this other group, stable law firms, that treaded water and got through it. They found a way to survive. However, there were firms that grew substantially, tangibly, and got stronger through that adversity. And we had to ask, what is the differentiating factor or factors that separated firms that thrived from the firms that shrunk? At a high level, we see firms fall into two groups. We see one group of firms that clings to the old way of doing things, pen and paper, on-premise software, bricks and mortar, and many of these firms they're doing just fine, but they're often unaware of the patterns in their business model. The way that they ran their firms was rigid and therefore fragile. And this fragile state only works as long as those firms and their environments remain stable. But with the onset of the pandemic, rough economic conditions, major shifts in technology, these firms are completely unprepared to handle the changes required to adapt to this new environment. their overly rigid and outdated business models shattered when exposed to new stressors. On the flip side, you have firms that rise to the new challenges of operating. And thanks to these new stressors, they've adapted. Thriving firms have a strong foundation in technology to build upon, to rapidly evolve how their law firms operate. They're able to quickly iterate and evolve both to the shifting demands of clients and their staff. So this prompts the really interesting question: what can we call something that is the opposite of fragile? These firms that we saw thriving were not just resilient, they were not just getting by, but they were the opposite of fragile. We need a word for things that get better when they're exposed to stressors and challenges, something that is the opposite of fragile. And this gets us back to our topic today. This 2012 book helps us to define what we're seeing with individual law firms at a macro level for the legal system as a whole. This is how Taleb described antifragility. Some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love adventure, risk, uncertainty. Yet in spite of the ubiquity of the phenomenon, there is no word for the exact opposite of fragile. Let's call it antifragile. Antifragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The antifragile gets better. And this just does such a beautiful job of describing the law firms that we see succeeding in the face of hardship. And it also seems antithetical to the way the legal system has been built. It ties together the lawyers in this community and how they're changing the way that law is done. We love adventure, risk, uncertainty, and all that this landscape presents us. We are unafraid of unseen challenges. So another way to explore antifragility is by analogizing it to the human immune system. The immune system becomes stronger when it's exposed to pathogens like bacteria or viruses. Through exposure to these pathogens, we might get sick, we might suffer a temporary setback, but ultimately, we emerge stronger, with immune systems that are better prepared for its next encounter with similar pathogens. It's a system that is getting stronger by being placed in stressful environments. You already have this in you, right? Now let's think about the concept of antifragility as it relates to law firms. Think about the way that you respond to adversity. Whether it's your response to a global pandemic, an impending recession, a natural disaster that impacts your office, or even a client not showing up, someone quitting. The way you respond to these stressors can be a source of a competitive advantage. And I'd like to suggest that we embrace the concept of antifragility in legal, to think about how we can create an anti-fragile law firms that thrive and grow when they're exposed to volatility, randomness, stressors, law firms that love adventure, risk, uncertainty. This is you. The concept of the anti-fragile law firm also dovetails nicely into the concepts introduced in The Client-Centered Law Firm, written by Clio's CEO and founder, Jack Newton. Both ideas emphasize the concept that law firms need to be built in a resilient way to thrive in rapidly changing environments. The book focuses on shifting client expectations as the major stressor we need to react to. And in today's AI transformation era, this could not be more true. Amazon, Netflix, and Uber have all changed the way that clients shop and get around. They now expect a frictionless experience where they can get what they want quickly and easily and get it on demand. And the client-centered law firm tells us that if we don't find a way to adapt to these stressors and these risks, we risk losing these clients. But the concept of the anti-fragile law firm tells us something else. It tells us that shifting client expectations are not the only stressor we're being exposed to. Global instability, regulatory reform, those are some examples of the many additional stressors that law firms are going to be facing over the next decade. At Clio, we're really optimistic about AI as a beneficial tool to lawyers, but if it's not handled correctly, it can be a threat as well. So if we think about building anti-fragile law firms, I believe that we'll all be better equipped to face whatever comes in the legal industry and to emerge from these challenges stronger than we were before. So how do we put this into action? Let's talk about the required focus that shapes an anti-fragile law firm and the fundamental pillars to build one. So the first pillar is connection with your clients, with your firm members, your long-term mission. The next is creativity, which is essential to innovation, and innovation is a foundation to anti-fragility. And the third is technology. You need a technological foundation to be adaptable and flexible in order for you to be truly anti-fragile. So finding success in today's competitive legal marketplace requires more than just knowledge of the law. These three areas can either make or break a firm's long-term success. When law firms focus on these areas and they apply effective processes, mindsets, and foundations, they can overcome any challenge without disrupting progress toward their long-term goals. The anti-fragile lawyer is a proficient adapter who is flexible enough to make changes while at the same time playing that long game to win out over the competition. So as we cover the building blocks of building an anti-fragile law firm, we'll also share some suggestions for you in each area that we cover, which are covered more in depth in the Anti-Fragile Law Firm guide that I will have a QR code for at the end of the presentation. So I want you to use these tactics to guide your path toward becoming an anti-fragile law firm. You want to create a more resilient business to be able to combat any uncertain times that may be coming up. And I want to encourage you to start small. It might seem a bit overwhelming with some of these things, but starting small and putting things into real practice and integrating them will lead to a more positive change for your law firm. So I want you to evolve your mindset when it comes to connections. So connections are an essential part of your path forward, and they're a critical part of you building a winning anti-fragile law firm and team. First, there's our social bonds with our family, our friends, our colleagues. Finding ways to build and reinforce these bonds is essential for any individual in this room to develop to their fullest potential. But these bonds also exist between law firms and clients as well. And there are a lot of ways to think about how we connect with others. How many of you were here for Priya Parker's keynote last year? Yeah, I'm sure it changed the way that you connect and you gather, but also not only with your staff, but with your clients as well. So this kind of connection piece has us weighing what to prioritize, when to prioritize connections, the moments, the tools, the places. So for example, when you engage with a client, you're engaging with them throughout their entire legal journey. And at every stage you encounter stressors and need to be able to respond to them. At the heart of it, you need to be able to take that client-centered approach and understand what your clients want by building really deep empathy and knowledge of them. And then, of course, giving them what they want. I want to flag this. Do not lose sight of the big picture. Client-centered does not mean client first. Firm productivity has to be factored in as well. And this is a key point for anti-fragile law firms. Developing an understanding of your firm's greater purpose will allow you to naturally create a better client-centered experience by exemplifying the values of your firm and what you stand for to your clients. Connect to a greater purpose to focus on cohesion, to create focus and cohesion. So the mark of a successful business is connecting to a bigger purpose. Great companies identify something larger than transactions or business portfolios to provide purpose and meaning. Purpose gives coherence to any organization, and the best leaders invest in activities and relationships that make their organization stand for something long after they're gone. Organizational culture can't be taken passively. How many of you have a mission statement for your law firm? Okay, it should be the whole room. Think about that one. It has to be cultivated through investment and shared activities and relationships that reflect the values of the institution. And it's so different for law firms. It's really, really fundamental to how you do business. By articulating that purpose, that it goes beyond making money and serving clients, it's maybe building a better future for your community. You're going to be positioned to have effective strategies and actions and open new sources for innovation and clearly express your law firm's values in everyday work. Flexibility enables resiliency. So a key factor to successfully connecting is being flexible. In times of uncertainty, rigidity does not serve us. So one of my favorite things that I carry over from my yoga practice into my daily life and my meditations and mantras every day is be like water. Be like water. How can you flow more in your day to day? Not every day is going to be the same. And in order to deliver client-centered experiences and connect in the way that clients want, you need to meet them where they are and meet the expectations of those clients while not overextending yourself. You can determine what's best, avoid wasted efforts by communicating clearly and often, and by asking questions, being curious, rather than making assumptions. This is flexibility in connection and communication. You are the legal expert, remember that, but every client is different, and client needs are ever changing. You might want to maybe focus on a specific client base. For example, someone providing remote immigration law services to assist clients from all over the country, or finding new ways to offer the option for both in-person and virtual services. Cloud technology can help you have a seamless integration and continuous interactions between both in-person and virtual services, and it allows you to design a law firm for the future. The ticket to creating meaningful connections and innovation-based services is listening. Pick up on what you're hearing and what you anticipate will be needed in the long term and start to take steps toward that. Today, law firms have to be anti-fragile and they have to be agile. They have to be able to pivot when their clients change direction or new opportunities present themselves. But agility cannot come at the expense of focus. Firms need to be able to adapt quickly and efficiently, but also with a really clear understanding of what their priorities are and where they're headed. And the only way that that's going to happen is if everyone on staff knows how they fit into the big picture, if they're working together toward a common goal. Adopting a change mindset to increase your potential. This is a really important concept. Nicholas Taleb defines anti-fragility as high adaptive capacity. The more flexible your law firm is, the better off you're going to be when you face challenges in this marketplace. This is similar to having a growth mindset. Is anyone familiar with Carol Dweck's book, Mindset? Okay, a couple of you. And it's referenced in the client-centered law firm as well. And that growth mindset, think about that in contrast to a fixed one. So people who have a fixed mindset believe that their abilities are fixed and they don't have much control over them. People with a growth mindset, on the other hand, have a passion for learning new things and cultivating new qualities. And they see failures as opportunities to learn and are open to change. So the anti-fragile law firm makes multiple bets. They learn from their results. They change course quickly. And if the external situation changes, the law firm's able to shift and innovate and move to winning bets. In fact, the ability to support anti-fragile capabilities is key to overcoming crises. For example, a law firm that invests in cloud-based billing software, for example, I'm just gonna little plug here, it is the Clio Cloud Conference. This is what's gonna allow them to scale their business up or down as needed when changes happen. They're gonna have a frictionless client experience. They're likely better able to meet client expectations because they've got that flexibility. They're offering multiple methods of payment, and they're able to adapt to ever-changing market conditions. And you can increase your potential for growth and revenue by being open to change and having that growth mindset. So the impact that law firms have is profound, but you've got a lot on your plate and you're doing everything that you can to keep up. How many of you may have been doing some work during Jack's keynote? Okay, brave souls. But I want to encourage you to think about this. It's not just about doing more. It's about finding solutions that allow you to do more with what you already have. So a lot of you will be here learning more about the Clio product so that you're taking advantage of what you already have to be more efficient. So as legal professionals start to expand the offerings and what they have available as solutions at their law firms for their clients, need to find ways to adapt existing systems and processes. And this is what's going to be important for proactively selecting which solutions you have. So as you explore the exhibit hall today and think about what you might need next, start to think about the future and what's going to help to make you more anti-fragile and adaptive. Implementing cloud-based software is key to ensuring resiliency. So anti-fragile law firms operate efficiently and offer client-centered, tailored experiences for clients, no matter their surroundings. This should not be something that is laborious to your firm. It should not be bound by a physical address even. So we've learned so much from the pandemic, and clients now have different aptitudes when it comes to how they interact with their lawyers and what they expect from their legal journey. So this doesn't always equate to operating fully remotely, but it does mean that you need to ensure that you're continuously able to access the critical work required to succeed and to serve clients from anywhere at any time. So while it might seem obvious, it's equally as important to adopt the right technology and maximize the usage of it. It's not enough to simply purchase or implement technology. It's about continuously expanding your knowledge and leveraging technology further to extend your capabilities and create frictionless client experiences without overextending yourself. So here's a quick checklist you can take a photo of. This is a really good checklist for when you're evaluating new cloud technology. This is what's going to allow you to make sure that you're keeping up with your professional responsibility when it comes to selecting third-party vendors, but also that you're not going to be dealing with a headache from a vendor that is unreliable and cannot meet your needs. There's no other nightmare like implementing and changing software. You've all been there. But if you select the right tool, you will be set up in a really good spot. So balance flexibility with sustainability. I'm going to have to start moving faster here. I just got real excited to be talking to y'all again. It's time to start thinking of flexibility as a luxury. So in order to be successful, law firms need to be able to adapt and change quickly. And the ones that are able to do that successfully will find themselves in a much better place than their competitors. But there's a difference between flexibility and sustainability. And it's really important to find ways to embrace flexibility in ways that are sustainable. Being too flexible will have you have lots of single points of failure. But if you're too rigid, you won't be able to accommodate the changing needs of your clients and your staff. So there's a balance to this. Prioritize yourself to build a sustainable practice. Definitely want to hit on this because the most valuable asset law firms have is their people and you. And the legal industry has changed, and so have client expectations. So if you want to thrive, you have to change with them and understand that you're crucial in creating the unique value that you offer. You can't create that unique value if you yourself are not being taken care of, that you're not prioritizing your own needs as well. Treat yourself like a precious asset, please. Okay, I am going to jump here because we are so out of time. Are we not, Laura? Okay, client-centered anti-fragile. This is something that I want to quickly show you because I want to really emphasize resilience here. This is the Resilience Plus track. So the concept of resilience is both in anti-fragile and in client-centered. In his book, Jack discusses how law firms should be resilient in serving their clients' needs, while anti-fragile argues that these law firms not only withstand shocks, but benefit from them because of their resilience. So I'm going to skip over that discussion section. If you want to talk to me, we can meet outside. But I do want to give you this QR code to download the Anti-Fragile Law Firm Guide Sorry I ran out of time. I did want to really hear from all of you. But thank you for coming. Thank you for listening today. I'm really passionate about this topic, and I hope we can discuss it more together. Thank you so much.